healers. Today I want to talk to you about how crystals work. How do crystals work? And how do we know that they're working? So really what inspired this video today, I don't know how many of you follow Dr. Gabor Mator. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. If I remember, I'll post a link below, but he's really popular on Instagram. He just wrote a book, and I've been reading the book and, just following little snippets. So anyway, today he was talking about depression. This does tie into the crystals, by the way. This story does. So today he was talking about depression and about how your psychiatrist, your psychologist, your doctor may prescribe serotonin boosting, like an antidepressant is what I'm trying to say. They may prescribe an antidepressant. But what I found interesting today is that there aren't any real studies that have shown that antidepressant relieves depression. It's just kind of a theory. If you're feeling depressed and you have low serotonin, so let's replace it. But he used a really cool analogy today. He said, it's kind of like if you're depressed and you go out with a bunch of friends and say his example was you take a shot of whiskey, you drink a glass of wine, all of a sudden you're feeling more social, you're feeling better. But does that mean your brain is deprived of wine or of whiskey or whatever that was, right? So I guess what he's trying to say is, do you need the antidepressant? Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but there's just not a lot of research behind that fixes the depression. It may give temporary relief for the depression, but there's an underlying cause and reason. So I have found the same thing with crystals, right? There's not a lot of research out there saying, yes, the crystals work. But I do know from trial and error, and have working with them now for over 10 years, and doing crystal healing sessions on my clients, that they do work. And it surprises me every time, So a little backstory is I probably would never have even started working with crystals if I didn't see things, in real time with my own eyes. And a backstory is I started seeing an acupuncturist when I had trouble conceiving children, okay? So anyway, I would see this acupuncturist, and it was just a beautiful healing experience for me. But I would notice that she had, crystals in her room, and they were pretty. And I didn't really think anything beyond that. Fast forward, I got pregnant. I had twins. My twin son, Will, who, my business, Will2WOW, is named after William, and his initials are WOW. So William had a very severe brain injury. He lost his ability to move, he was almost 11 months old, so he wasn't talking, but he could say the word no. I remember that. The ability to eat, and presented as a child that was born with severe CP. And this was caused by choking. Okay, so the first thing in my mind was, I need to call my acupuncturist. I need to call my healer. She was more than an acupuncturist. She truly was a healer. She didn't just put the needles on and walk away. It was very inclusive, and it really helped. So I called her. At that point, Will was not really stable enough to take him to her office. So she kindly came to my home to needle Will. Well, when she came in, she was holding a crystal. And to see Will's reaction, the closer the crystal got to him, the more aware he would get. Then almost it was explosive. And then he even started crying. So we had to back off with the crystal. And we were like, whoa, clear quartz is too much for Will. So that, I saw it, I was like, wow, what is to this? So I went down a rabbit hole. I started researching crystals like crazy. And that is, long story short, how I initially saw crystals working. And then, fast forward, I started making the jewelry and working with the crystals. But the testimonials from my clients, and the realizations and the things that come to me. So for example, today I had a client, a very dear client that had lost, this particular person had lost their partner in life. And anyway, during the session, I really meditated beforehand, really opened myself up. And the thought was perseverating, and that's how I realized my intuition works. You know, some people see things, they hear voices. Mine's like a persistent thought that comes out of nowhere, and it perseverates is the only way I can describe it. And this thought was, you need to put citrine on her heart, and you need to hold your hand on your heart with the citrine. And then the other thought was, you need to go to her shoulders. And then when I was almost done, it was like, no, you need to go back to her shoulders. So anyway, the session's over, and I asked her, what is going on with your shoulders? Well, apparently that's where her partner was feeling and carrying all of her pain before her partner passed away. The citrine was her partner's birthstone, and she used to say, with the citrine on her heart, with her partner's hand, this is how you know I love you. Pretty profound. It was very moving, and it's little stories like that that remind me of how profound the energy is of crystals. And I just wanted to share that with you. You know, if there's a question in your mind, that, you know, they hold all of the sacred energy of earth. And if you look back at old movies and a lot of even children's shows I've seen recently, I wish I could think the name of some of them. One was like a Disney Christmas movie with dogs, and the crystal would light their way. It was almost like Rudolph with dogs. But, you know, I'm even thinking like Superman, but there was always like this crystal involved, and they hold all of the energy from earth. So it's pretty profound. I think of a really easy way of how the crystals work is energy, the minerals that they are made up of, and the color. Okay, so when you do some research, you're like, gosh, I wonder why, you know, people recommend clear quartz as the master healing stone. Well, clear quartz is mainly made up of silicon, which is a very huge energy conductor, and it holds the energy. If you think of Silicon Valley, that is how our cell phones work, that's how our computers work, and that's how our TVs work, is with silicon. And they grow that themselves, so it's not a natural crystal that would be very expensive. But I just thought I would share that story on how crystals work, because it was a really nice reminder for me.